866-5555. Jacksonville.
Man, y'all know what time it is. T-Law got the eyes of Lee Van Cleef when he go in that field.
Checks it down underneath. That's a crossing route to Christian Kirk. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Christian Kirk to the goal line. Touchdown, Jacksonville.
They made a major mistake when they made T-Law go to the spirit of the sky, to the oracle of the saber-toothed tiger, and the saber-toothed tiger now has the scepter in his hand, and he been to put every critic to rest. Man, last night I done marinated 2 turkeys. I got my cherry wood getting ready for my smoker. Just got off from work, off Pritchard Road. I'm going to bake me 2 Cornish hens. My special recipe, I call it a Mediterranean Cornish hen. I'm going to top it off with my homemade Long Island iced tea. And I'm only going to top it off with 1 red top of Coca-Cola. The Maxwell House coffee will live on forever. Duval!
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome in Jaguars Today, midweek, talking a lot of draft today with you. As I know, free agency coming up before the draft, but we'll have a lot on that in the next few weeks. Good morning, Tony Smith.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well.
Did you enjoy your mock draft this week? Are you pleased with the results?
Yeah. Thought it went pretty well. Yeah.
All right. Good. Did you make any trades in the first round?
Made no trades anywhere.
Anywhere. All right. So this is like the least trading week we've ever had as far as that goes. So we will be talking trade back candidates today in part, among other things. Our question of the day out there, we gave you some options on a Twitter poll. We'll get to that and who those particular players are. But, like when I'm thinking about a trade back candidate, look, and I was kind of joking. I was talking with Dan and Jeff a couple of moments ago about somebody who mentioned Will Campbell. I'm not saying you wouldn't necessarily, mortal luck, wouldn't be able to get Will Campbell like at 7, right? You could, but I'm thinking guys that, like, to me, Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, you can't count on any of those guys. Probably one of them, almost by definition, if a couple of quarterbacks go, has to be available if you trade back a couple of spots. But I'm just kind of taking those players out of the pool and assuming if I want one of them, I'm going to have to stick and pick at number 5 if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I would assume that that's going to be the case, yeah. And I think it's fun to go through. Look, we got some time between now and the draft. We got free agency opening next week. It's still fun to go through all the mental exercises of what if X scenario plays out? What would you like to see the end result of it be?
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're doing today. I think it's unlikely that they'll be able to trade back in this year's draft. I think the overwhelming likelihood is they're going to be at 5, but I don't think there's anything wrong with, well, if they do move and this is the spot they're in and these are the players that are still available to them, which of these would you most like to see them pick?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a big thing. A lot of people are like, I want to trade back, accumulate assets. I always want to trade back and accumulate assets, almost always, unless there's that really one special guy. And some people think that'll be Mason Graham or Will Campbell. And that's fine if you feel that way. Really what it's going to come down to is Cohen, Gladstone, Baselli and how they feel about that. And, just based on the early returns on the poll today, if people are moving back, they've got an eye that there's some good offensive linemen available out there. So we'll get to all that. Dylan Denmark, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. What's up?
What is new with you?
Man, I went home yesterday, and I did my ultimate team, and I won my first ever national title.
Did you?
So it was a big day yesterday for about 5 seconds, and then I moved on with my life.
So this is what? This is NCAA football?
Yes, sir.
And how long was this like a startup team? Is this like a dynasty you built over seasons, or how does that work?
You play about 5 games, then you go to the playoffs, play 2 games, then national title. But it's like ultimate team. So you have people from the past, people from the future.
Okay. All right. So like the best of the best that ever played there.
Correct. Yes,
all
sir.
right. And you
yes,
played
sir.
at Florida State, I take it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
I thought you might have. They got off to an interesting start, Tony. Yesterday, in the last 24 hours since I mentioned it, I didn't join any new fantasy leagues, which is good for me, right? I'm trying a little bit of moderation along the way. So I got up this morning, and you get in the routine of these things. You get 8 hours to make a pick, right? So you don't get caught napping. And so I checked, was on the clock in a couple of leagues, made my pick, and then realized for whatever reason, as I'm in the car, I'm one of these people, I'm just so addicted like everybody else, man. I get to a stoplight, I immediately grab my phone. Like, I want 5 seconds on the phone. Just 5 seconds. I got to have 5 seconds. Did anyone text me? What's going on? Da, 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 da. And the phone's dead. Completely.
It didn't get plugged in last
It got
night.
plugged in,
Yeah, it just
but
didn't charge.
it didn't charge. And I don't know how that happens,
Need
but
a new cord. It sounds like.
maybe. I mean, the cord looks pristine, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I'm rolling it. It stays in its spot in the house all the time, never moves. But yes, it's very, I don't know, it's very disconcerting.
Yeah.
You don't have power to your phone. Like, what's going on? And look, I'll be home at like 1:15 this afternoon. It'll be okay. I'll survive. It's just, man, we've been so conditioned to go to, at least I have. I grab for that thing. I mean, every time I'm stopped in traffic, I'm just reaching for the phone. Oh, what's I can read 2 tweets on in this before the light turns green.
I am happy to say I do not have that in me.
Bro, I really do. And look, when I get home, it's different. I plug it in when I get home, and it sits there, and you may text me, and I may not see it for 6 hours. I don't know. But when it's there, and I'm in the car, and I'm this captive audience, and I'm listening to the drill, and they go to commercial, and yes, I'm listening to all those wonderful sponsor advertisements, Tony, but I just want to squeeze in a couple tweets.
Yeah, you just want to be able to fact check whatever they just said.
I sometimes do.
To walk in and go, I don't know about.
I fact check stuff all the time that I hear. I'm like, I hear something like, that doesn't seem right to me. And I will go look that up. I need to fact check myself some of the time. So you can fact check me on any of these pronunciations if you'd like. But these are the 4 players we went with in today's Chad and Sandy Real Estate Question of the Day poll.
A couple monster risers.
Big time, right? I mean, the first name here, Nick Emanwari, that's how I'm going with the pronunciation. It's in the ballpark, right? And if it's slightly off, so be it. The safety out of South Carolina put up just massive eye-popping numbers, a ridiculous 40 time. He's a big safety. I mean, he's a big physical guy. And again, we're talking about trade back candidates now. And that doesn't mean to the same spot. I mean, you might have to take some of these guys round pick 8, 9, 10. Maybe you get Emanwari or Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State at, say, 15. I don't know, right? It's hard to say. But we included Warren in there. Included Ashton Genty, who some people think the Jags should consider if they stick and pick at 5. It's a rich running back class, so that makes it a little difficult for me. But he is seemingly a very elite talent. Or Armand Membo, the offensive lineman out of Missouri, who can play tackle, but might project as a guard, at least initially in the National Football League. He's 6'4". Everybody gets, everybody wants a 6'7" left tackle with, 80 billion inch arms. And he does have really, really long arms, but he is a compact guy, super athlete. And he's one of these risers as well. But really, if you look, I don't pay that much attention sometimes when I see these big boards of the guys ranked around, say, 15 to 25. Because I feel like unless the ranking is so far off, they're likely not going to be available at 36. And they're probably not going to be on the Jags' radar at 5, right?
Yeah.
So these guys become those kind of trade back candidates. But as I looked at some lists of players, even heading into the combine, Membo was in the teens for a lot of people. So maybe he rises now and gets into the conversation even as the first offensive lineman off the board. Others say, it's ridiculous. It's going to be Will Campbell. We don't know what all the GMs are thinking in the National Football League, right? And when they get these guys in and they work them out themselves and compare them side to side, we'll see what it looks like. But Membo easily winning the poll in the early stages this morning because people want offensive line help.
No doubt. And look, I think a lot of the fan base right now is going to be very focused on offensive line help. Wherever they're going to be drafting in the first round, whether it be at 5 or if they trade back, then they can get one of the other offensive linemen. I think it's the way that a lot of the fans look at it, and that's fine. It's fair. They've obviously talked about stressing that area of the football team, and that same group of fans has been saying, why don't they stress this more for a number of years now? So I get it. I do think it's interesting. I tend to get nervous around the players like him like Mimbo specifically, because it does feel like rising at this point in the process makes me nervous. Like, I don't know if that's really what's happening with the player or not, but it's how I feel about the player right now, about him specifically. I'm looking at his profile on NFL.com right now. I don't know who does their numbers, their grades for all these different prospects as they're going through, but they do put a number grade on all these guys as they're coming through, and it's always at the beginning of the process. I don't know how much it never changes that I've noticed once they have the number on a guy, and they give him a 6.46. And what that means in their grading system is will become a good starter within 2 years, right? And that's the feeling that I've probably, like, in the back of my head had about him as we've gone into the draft process. Sure. I'm not saying that the what he's shown to this point changes or doesn't change that. It certainly feels like the conversation around him has changed. There's no denying that. Especially with the way that he tested at the Combine this weekend, but nobody makes me more nervous at this time of year than the players that are having that kind of thing happen around him. And it's also helpful that we get to talk to guys like Tony Pauline about where the conversation on some of these guys has been this whole time and how much within NFL circles has actually changed based on what they saw this weekend.
All right, I wanted to look up something here at Pro Football Network, and this ties into what you're talking about, okay? And so I decided the easiest way to do it, I wanted to look at a particular offensive lineman and the write-up they gave him, because I wanted to refresh my memory, because I'm thinking ahead to we're going to unveil our 7-round mocks for the week, which, by the way, if you've done a Jaguar mock draft, you can tweet us the result of that. You can text us. You can post it in the YouTube virtual studio chat if you want to. Whatever the case is, screenshot it and give us a little look at it. So I figured maybe the easiest way to do it is to start a mock draft, and that way I know exactly how to navigate through that, and I can click on the offense and the position I want, and then they have little capsules on every player, right? So I just started one, selecting as the Jaguars, just to get going to start this process. And here's how the first 4 picks went in this, okay? Abdul Carter went to Tennessee. All right, fine. Will Campbell, as the Browns' bypass quarterback, goes to the Browns. So the Giants snatch up Travis Hunter at 3, and, barring a trade, New England's not taking a quarterback. Who goes number 4, Tony? Armand Membo in the mock draft. So, I mean, come on. You have not seen that once in all the times we've been doing this over the last couple of months. So you're right about some of this late rising kind of stuff and how that all factors in. But let me see if I got this one. Anyway, we'll get to it later. I think
I know Jeremiah. I pulled it up again just to remind myself. He did have him at 18, right, when Jeremiah did his top 50 a couple of weeks ago. So it's not that he hadn't been talked about as a potential first-round pick. I
saw a list that had him at 13 heading into the Combine.
Yeah.
So he's around there, right? And if you look at and you pair the athleticism to if you like the film enough, I don't break down Missouri offensive line film. I don't break down anybody's offensive line film, but I found the one I was looking for, and I wasn't sure if it was this site that had the write-up or not as I was doing the thinking. Anyway, we'll get to the mocks later on in the hour. We'll dissect these trade back options a little bit today. Who are some of our favorite guys and some other guys that may be on the radar as well. It's not limited to those 4. And if you want, you can vote for your favorite option there. Just reply with a name if you like somebody better. Like, here's a guy I'd really like to target. A lot of people mentioned Tyler Booker, who had very interesting week at the Combine. Going to be asking Tony Pauline about him in the second hour today, because his athletic testing numbers, terrible. But they said he looked fantastic in positional drills and looked like, a veteran playing the position. But the explosiveness just wasn't there for him athletically. How does that impact him? If it does in the NFL draft, all these things now, you're going to start to hear all the negative stories on guys, because guys want to drive certain players down. And you got to be careful with what you take in as gospel at this point in the year. So hit us up with your response to that. You can jump on, talk a little Jaguar football today in all its many forms at 641-1010. Same number for the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, or hop in the YouTube virtual studio chat. On social media, you'll find us at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, and at XL Denmark.
Ain't no laws when you're drinking claws, baby.
All right, Tony Pauline, just over an hour away from now. When we come back, let's talk about the options the Jags might have to trade back and how likely a market is to develop and which players would be the targets of the teams trying to come up and make that move. We'll get into that and more as we go along today. You're listening to Jaguars Today. Keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Usually at this point telling you how delicious Dandy sandwiches are. They are delicious. They're going to be delicious tomorrow and the next day and the next week. And you know you can find them at area gate stations. But this week, I'm going to hit the pause button a little bit on that because Dandy would like to tell you about a great little golf tournament going on right here, right now on the First Coast. You have the opportunity to see LPGA Tour stars of tomorrow competing at Atlantic Beach Country Club, March 6th through the 8th. It's the Epson Tours Atlantic Beach Classic. It's presented by Access Golf, and it's the second stop on the pathway to the top 15 ladies receiving LPGA Tour cards at the end of the season. So get out there, enjoy some golf, support the ladies of tomorrow. The IQ Fiber Linkside Lounge, the best value around. Get an all-inclusive ticket with food, beer, wine, and spirits for only $75. So visit AtlanticBeachClassic.com and enter promo code IQ for this special rate. And when you're hungry, do what I do. Go out and make yours a dandy. Do it today.
Jaguars Today. From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Ever wonder how Dan and Jeff got hired at 1010XL?
You guys have any skills at all?
Please. The drill.
Yeah, we have skills.
Mornings.
I'm sorry. Maybe you already answered this, but why exactly are we here?
On 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
This is the sound of real people across Florida betting on sports. It's the sound of winning your bet, only on Hard Rock Bet. And if your first bet doesn't win, you get up to $100 back to try again. Hard Rock Bet is Florida's only legal sports book. Your home for betting hoops for any sport you choose. Download Hard Rock Bet now and get 2 shots at your first bet. Win, or you'll get up to $100 back as a bonus bet. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to play. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Looking for adventure? Need a machine that works as hard as you do? CF Moto has you covered. At Ride Now Beach Boulevard, we've got CF Moto ATVs and UTVs built for any task, any trail, anytime. Tear up the dirt with the trail-tested C-Force ATV lineup or conquer through terrain with a Z-Force UTV. Find your CF Moto ride today at Ride Now Beach Boulevard or visit ridenowbeachboulevard.com. ATVs and UTVs are for riders 16 and older. They can be hazardous to operate. CF Moto recommends an improved safety training course.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday on 1010XL. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Clean air, cool air, both are extremely important. Trust Florida Home AC to deliver on both with their Remy Halo, the next generation of air quality technology. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and breathe clean and cool air.
What are the only 2 states that do not observe daylight saving time? The answer next.
Having the right homeowner's policy protection means you're staying on top of your most valuable possession, your home. For information on finding an agent, go to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours, Southern Oak Insurance.
The only 2 states that currently do not observe daylight saving time are Arizona and Hawaii.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Take a radio boat ride with Captain Cabot on the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Reeled in by the Pest Pros at Royal Pest Services and awaken 180 weight loss.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
New and pre-owned firearms are always in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimbar, Smith & Wesson, Sig Sauer, and Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability
sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies Cold Case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case. Plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona to the king of beers to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
Hi, I'm Joe Kenny, the founder of Here Tomorrow. Thank you to the players for helping us on our mission to ensure that all community members in need can access mental health care and live full, meaningful lives. 6 days to go.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
At Hurricane Grill and Wings, the wings are fresh, the drinks are cold, and the game is always on. With 30 bold flavors, ice-cold beer, and handcrafted cocktails, there's no better place to kick back and catch every play. Escape the ordinary. Your home for sports is Hurricane Grill and Wings.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, hey, you do you. Have some fun with your mocks today. But somebody sent one, Tony, to us on the text line, and where the Jags just used their 10 picks, no trading around, and they take among those 10, 5 defensive tackles. They said, I call this mock trench warfare. I call it a lot of things. One is a ridiculous waste of resources.
Yeah,
where
are they going to go in the roster?
You're taking 5, and he took an edge.
Yeah.
So 6 defensive linemen. Not happening. But
it's the least effective as an exercise of these players that are available this far into the draft.
Maybe.
And this far into the draft.
And you do fine. I mean, every time I take a defensive tackle early, and no matter when I take them, first round, second round, I end up going, man, really? Could have got this guy in the third? But you don't know if that's really going to play out that way either. So there is that whole aspect of it. All right. Watched the first 2 episodes of Daredevil last night, the new Daredevil show.
Didn't get to it yet. Yeah.
It's okay. It wasn't. My son was very disappointed. It didn't live up to the high standard of the first Daredevil show. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it, but anyway,
the show was awesome.
It was fantastic. Yeah. There's no question about it. Similar in the similar vein, but I don't know. Felt like maybe the fight choreography left a little bit to be desired. But anyway, there's your Daredevil recap. All right, let's talk about some trade down candidates here. Why don't we start with today's 10-10 take, Dylan?
10-10
take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take is serviced by Ideal Conditions Heating and Air, your go-to local HVAC company, veteran owned and operated.
Look, it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Everything that we do when we talk about the NFL draft is going to change to some degree depending on what happens next week. Mm-hmm. Maybe it won't change drastically. Maybe not everything. That might be too strong a statement, but things will change. Your approach to the 5th pick may change depending on which player or players get signed to be starters here in Jacksonville. The Jags obviously go out, and the Will Johnson talk has cooled a lot anyway. He's been banged up, hasn't been able to work out, came in measured with short arms at the combine, Tony, which it's got to matter to some degree when you're a cornerback, trying to break up passes. But I read somewhere that he's got more prototypical nickel size than he does outside corner size with some of the measurables. Mm-hmm. Whatever. But if the Jags sign a corner to start, that no matter how much they may love Will Johnson, he's not going to be on the table. No corner is with the 5th pick.
No, and I think the Will Johnson talk specifically in Jacksonville has been cooling off over the course of the last 2-3 weeks, right? It felt like there was a time not that long ago where we would get a lot of people saying, yeah, this is the guy you
We
kind of
need a
target.
corner. We got to get a
Even
corner.
at 5, I saw some fans that were willing to go that way. I see way less of it now as we're getting deeper into the draft process. And I was never really there with him for whatever reason anyway. It's not that I liked him or didn't like him. I wasn't anything near excited enough about him to be like, yeah, they have to have a corner at 5, and it has to be this guy if Travis isn't going to be available to him.
No, but at the same time, I was open to the idea if he grades out that way.
Sure.
Taking a corner in that range is not.
I was willing
out of
to
the
be
ordinary at all.
impressed. Yeah, I was willing to be impressed. Nothing that I've heard or seen about him in this month since it became a name that was kind of hot in the circles around here has impressed me.
And I think it's the most likely position that the Jags will fill in free agency as well. I mean, there's so many starting caliber corners that are available out there. You may argue wide receiver a little bit deeper than maybe, first glance Devontae Adams in the mix now. We'll talk about him coming up. But out of these options in the poll today, all right, Nick Emenwari, I can't get away from a little bit feeling like Taylor Mays. Remember Taylor Mays coming out of USC? Was built like a you-know-what and had every measurable you could want, so much so that it propelled him, I think, somewhere around the 40th pick. I think he went in the second round. Might have been in the 50s.
Yeah.
And he was a workout warrior, his football prowess never matched the athleticism. There's no doubt that Emenwari's a specimen. I don't know if the film will pair up with those eye-popping athletic numbers. It makes me a little bit skeptical to some degree. Look, I'd rather have him have great numbers than not have great numbers, right? So it should definitely be a positive. But like you said, sometimes those testing numbers elevate guys a little bit higher. I look at Tyler Warren, and I think, man, right now we have Evan Ingram. Maybe we don't. Maybe we move on from Evan Ingram. We do have Brenton Strange here. Tyler Warren's the kind of guy that is a good two-way tight end, not necessarily going to tip your hand which way you're going to go. I just feel like there's a lot of decent tight end depth in this draft as well, and that impacts my desire to spend the first pick in the draft on a position that I think they can get by with what they have right now, which leaves me with Genty and Membo. And look, I think Genty's probably the safer player out of the two. I think he's the more projectable guy, but it is maybe the deepest position in the entire NFL draft at running back. And if I want, I draft a running back for the Jags almost every single mock, but I'm getting good ones, I feel like, in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. And, for me, I just, even with a trade back to like 10, I feel like, all right, could I just wait till the 2nd round and take, Travion Henderson or any number of guys?
I think running back specifically in the 1st round, especially in the range we're talking about here, where even if they trade back, they're not trading back to the end of the 1st round, I wouldn't assume, right, in this kind of thing. Trading more into that, maybe 12, 13 would be the bottom end of where they'd be able to move back to. If they're trading into that kind of area and you're a football team that is going to be drafting Genty, I think you have to feel like you are very sure that you're ready to compete right now. Like in the middle of whatever your competition window is right now. You're not still developing that window. You're adding a piece that's going to break that window open for you to go forward for the next 3, 4, 5 years. With this guy as your running back. I think the Jags, among the teams that are picking in the top 5, are probably the closest to that, I would say. But I don't know that that window is actually open to the point where I would feel comfortable necessarily going with a running back in the 1st round, even one of his caliber. But I think the depth of the running back class this year also affects that, where we could do something else that'll have more of an impact to get us closer to the window opening for us than picking the last piece we need. And I generally feel that way about safeties too. And tight end to some degree as well. They're okay with the pieces that they have at tight end on this roster. Not that they can't get better, and not that I'd be all that upset if they were able to trade down to 15 and Tyler Warren was the best player available. I wouldn't be like, oh, you can't do that.
Right.
And I wouldn't be that way with any of these guys. I would say the one that would make me the most nervous is Emenwari. Like, because it does feel like it's the testing at the combine has sent it's just skyrocketing up
Taking
right
it from
now.
like a mid-second round player.
Right. And it's a safety. And I'm not saying that safeties don't have impact on the game. They do. But it does feel that's among the last pieces that I'm even interested in adding, and I don't think the Jags are anywhere near that point in their process.
Look, even though they're that much away, if you gave me just these options and Membo was off the board after a trade back, I'd probably take Genty. Okay? But
I probably would too.
I would probably say I'm looking at the best offensive lineman from the Jaguars' eyes. I'm going to trust the new regime, right? We clamored for a new brain trust to come in and correct the mistakes of the past. And we know they want to focus on the interior of the offensive line, whether that's a combination of free agency or just the draft, whatever the case that may be. Might not, match up with value with where they're picking, but like a guy like Kelvin Banks, I feel like has been in this conversation for longer and has that same dual capability that we've talked about. Could he be a tackle? Maybe. Could he play inside a guard? A lot of people think he could. And if you feel that way about him, I feel like he might be a little bit safer at this point in time. If they love Tyler Booker, right? I'm not going to get all caught up on what his 40 time was or his, relative athletic score. If they love the tape and think that he's going to be a plug and play next decade starter for them at a high level, so be it. I'm good with that. So kind of by default, I feel like Armand Membo is the kind of the avatar for all the potential offensive linemen I could trade back for. And given these options, I'd still choose him from what I know about it right now, but Genty would be second and coming on. All right, let's see how our mocks turned out for this week. Our first one of the month of March is about our seventh, I think, 7-round mock that we've done. So we'll rip through these. Coming up next, Tony Pauline from Sportskeeda will have some post-combine thoughts on, the whole riser-faller concept is more about, the media catching up a lot of times. But I do think there is some of this opening up eyes for NFL decision makers because guys do jump ahead of where they've been ranked as a consensus. And you can say, well,
check the tape again.
Right. People can say, look, the rankings were just bad or whatever the case may be. But I think the people that have been doing this for a while have a pretty decent feel for how the NFL feels about these guys. The NFL may miss on these guys. They do every year.
Yeah.
They're busting the first round every single year, but it's more getting to the point where you're trying to get a feel for what the decision makers grade these guys to be, right? Whether they're top 10 talents, top 20 talents, whatever the case may be. All right, so if you're knocking out a mock, let us know if the Jags are covering a position in free agency. Today, I went with corner, assuming they're going to sign a starting corner. And that
I went safety. So I covered the 3 positions that we talk about the most over the 3 weeks that we've been doing this exercise. And who knows what it'll look like next week with free agency opening. We'll actually have an idea of players that they actually are bringing in.
Right.
So it'll affect directly what we do.
I've done corner twice. I did guard last week.
Yeah, I did interior. I did safety and corner.
Man, did you see over at ESPN, they do this every year. They take a handful of top free agents and they have the NFL Nation reporters for the various teams say, okay, would your team make a bid on this guy? And what would the bid be? Javon Holland, who is seemingly the gem of the safety class out there, getting a lot of money. In fact, we talked about Milton Williams yesterday. See what Osa Odigizua got, right? He got $80 million for 4 years. He's a nice player. He's got a lot of athletic potential. As I heard somebody say, he also played on a defensive line that allowed the second most rushing yards in the National Football League. And just giving him a bunch of money doesn't make him a better player overnight. But if he's getting that, what is Milton Williams going to get? Some of these offers were about $100 million over 4 years. And when it came to Javon Holland, what was the biggest one I saw here? 4 years, 80 from the Jets with $42 million guaranteed. Are the Jags going to be willing to pay a free agent safety $20 million a year when they've got less than 40 in cap space?
Holy cow.
Right? Seems like a lot, particularly if they are going to go out there and get a corner. I think maybe safety will become a bigger draft need than we realize by the time April rolls around. All right, we come back with our 7-round mocks. Tony Pauline at about 11:20 this morning. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today. You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. Superior products, exceptional service. Defense in Duval.
That defense is a hyena. Let's go, Duval!
Home sweet home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1010XL.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Your hole-in-one for men's health is Ackerman Urology. With offices in Mandarin, Middleburg, World Golf Village, and the beaches, Ackerman will get you on par for any prostate conditions and sexual vitality. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
It's Awaken 180 Weight Loss Wednesday
on Jaguars Today.
A lot of companies will tell you they're the best. At Custom Tree Surgeons, they show you every time. Custom Tree Surgeons has built an all-pro team. Every tree service professional has years of experience, continually trained and certified. They know what, when, and how to handle any job. It gets done efficiently and quickly by a team of experts. So for tree trimming, removal, stump grinding, and emergency services, forget any name other than Custom Tree Surgeons. There is no job they can't do better. Go to website CustomTreeSurgeons.com. That's CustomTreeSurgeons.com and let them show you how the job is supposed to get done.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Join me, Max Fink, as I keep a close eye on everything that happens in Gator Nation.
The Gator Report, polished up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Go, Gator! Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here. In the past 10 years, the weight loss industry has seen it all. New medications, fad diets, sculpting, and still, Awaken 180 continues to stand alone as the proven solution for weight loss online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Whether it's a leaky pipe, a backed-up septic tank, or your heater isn't keeping things cozy, call Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769. DuckDuckRooter.com.
What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold, hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisals. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day, so act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 904-999-1508. Get the money you need for anything at 904-999-1508 or just go to LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast. And if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians, ensuring you have the best living experience. American-Electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
Hi, I'm Karen, owner of Clay Solar Installation Partners, your local women-owned solar company. At Clay Solar, we're more than just panels and power. We're about people. We make the switch to clean energy simple, stress-free, and built to last. If you've had a bad experience with solar in the past, we can help. We specialize in dependable solutions and top-notch customer service, so you can finally enjoy the savings and sustainability you deserve. Schedule your free consultation at claysolar.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Hey, yeah, I want to shoot, baby, shoot.
Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, a few of these, everybody loading up on the offensive and defensive lines in these mocks, Tone, which we presume the Jags are interested in doing. Again, I continue to see Kyron Lacy being mocked to the Jags in the third round. Word apparently not getting around that he is is he being held still, or did he get out on bail for, I think it was it negligent homicide? Something?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking the Jags won't be drafting Kyron Lacy.
Probably not.
Not in the third round. Anyway, here's one. Will Campbell. They back it up with another offensive tackle in the second round. Alfred Collins, the defensive tackle out of Texas in round 3. Jared Wilson, the center out of Georgia, with the first of the 2 fourth-round picks. So obviously a lot of line of scrimmage there. Here's a trade all the way out of the first round. And I don't see that being very realistic, and the Jags picking up along the way 3 extra seconds next year, a 4th and a 5th, end up with like 13 picks this year. I just think that's out of the realm of possibility. I don't know if someone's going to be willing to trade up to 5. Never mind. Now, I don't know if they had somebody leaping all the way up there or it was, segmented a bunch of trades down. I think it's going to be hard to make those kind of moves this year. Maybe not so much at 5. Maybe there is, if you're willing, if you have like an eye taking an interior offensive lineman and you like some of those guys like Booker and others that could be available in the 10 to 15 range, then maybe somebody does fall in love with a Mason Graham or a Tet McMillan and thinks that they've got to have that guy. I don't think it's 100% out of the possibility. I think it's likely that the Jags will pick at 5, but I could see somebody having a hankering for someone there, much more so than once you trade back. Let's say you're at 13, somebody's got to come up and get a guy in that range.
Yeah, I think we've talked about here the last couple of weeks as we've looked at these different kind of deals and the potential for them, right? We've looked at the draft value chart and who knows what teams are using nowadays for that kind of thing. But I think if you base this on the draft value chart, I think this year for the Jags to trade down from 5, they're going to have to take a little bit less than whatever that chart tells you the value is.
We're saying like to get to 12 is a second-round pick. I don't know.
Yeah, it's something like that. I think that this year, given this draft class, that the odds are pretty good that if they're going to move back from 5 based on those kind of charts, they're probably going to get a little bit less than whatever the value is on those charts, and that's okay. I mean, all drafts are created differently, and you may be comfortable with it because it would be we're moving back to get an interior offensive lineman. That's what they want to get done, and they pick up an extra pick. I don't think the thinking behind that is necessarily flawed, but I think that's what you would have to be willing to do to pull off a trade back in this year's draft specifically, unless one of the quarterbacks is available there at 5.
Somebody said they think Lacy bonded out. That may be the case. I just know his legal jeopardy is still hanging over his head right now, and that is too much for me to take on in the middle of the NFL draft. We talked about it. Who was the lineman? His name escapes me right now. That got caught up in the
Dallas.
Yeah, the LSU.
La'el Collins.
La'el Collins. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, that advocated for the Jags at the time. Dave Caldwell, take him in the 7th round. He's really going to follow the way through. Turns out he's guilty or involved. Cut him. No big deal.
7th round pick.
No
probably
team
doing
did
that
it.
anyway. Yeah.
And Dallas ended up gave him a big fat signing bonus, and probably would have been a 2nd rounder at the worst that year if that story had not come up. All right, so let's get to it. Cue the draft music there, Mr. Denmark. Dylan, why don't you tell us what you did with your first 3 rounds of this today's mock draft?
All right, the first round in 1 through 4 went Shador, Will Campbell, Cameron Ward, and Abdul Carter. So I had to pick between Mason Graham and Travis Hunter. I went Mason Graham at 5.
Okay.
Second round went Josh Connerly Jr., the offensive tackle out of Oregon. And then the third round went with the receiver from Iowa State, Jaden Higgins. So D tackle, offensive tackle, wide receiver.
Well, that was pick 70, right? You went with Higgins. So who'd you take at 88? Because that's a 3rd rounder as well.
I went tight end Elijah Arroyo from Miami.
All right, Elijah Arroyo. I've got him into my mock today as well. Tone, what'd you do with the first 3?
At 5, the 2 quarterbacks, usual suspects, came off the board with Hunter and Carter. So at 5, no, I didn't even get a trade offer in this particular mock draft. But at 5, I went Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. And as we've discussed, I'm very comfortable with that. If that is the situation there for the Jags at 5. In the 2nd round at 36, went cornerback Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. Like I said, I added free agency safety for the football team. So the corner spot, I think, it's likely that they're going to add a corner and a safety. I think that's the likeliest outcome. But still, I went cornerback Trey Amos in the 2nd round here. Took him in this spot last week as well. He's the one that had the Bleacher Report comp to Carlton Davis. Wound up running 4.43 at the NFL Combine. And then in the 3rd round at 70, offensive guard Tate Ratledge out of Georgia, 3-year starter at right guard for the Bulldogs, now famous for the mullet there at the Combine. A player that I think I'm going to have to start assuming won't be available when the Jags are picking there at the top of the 3rd round, at least based on the conversation that seems to be around him coming out of the NFL Combine. But for now, was still comfortable with it. And then with that 2nd, 3rd round pick went edge Josiah Stewart out of Michigan. I'd like to ask him why he didn't work out at the Combine. He only did the bench press. I'm not sure. I haven't seen an explanation.
He's standing on business.
Yeah, I haven't seen an explanation for that yet, but did have 30 sacks during his time in college.
Oh, it's becoming more and more common. I don't know. For guys like that, I would take every advantage to catch people's eye when you've got every team looking at you. But all right, well, for me, the 2 quarterbacks went as well. Sometimes if I'm trying to start a mock with a certain player, I'll restart it a couple of times. Like if no quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks, I don't think that's realistic. At least one I expect to come off.
Sure.
But in this case, both quarterbacks went. Abdul Carter went, and Will Campbell went. So like Dylan, I had the choice between Mason Graham and Travis Hunter. And this time I went with Travis Hunter in this one. And I presumed that in this scenario, the Jags are going to play him as a wide receiver. Okay. They signed a corner in free agency. We're going to play Travis Hunter at wide receiver. Boom. That's how I start my draft. No trades throughout. Got Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, who we heard reports the Jags were interested in, although that was before they even had a GM. So who exactly that was interested in, I'm not sure. But regardless, I saw Tom McManus tweet about this. We've been talking about this for weeks, Tone. I do feel like having that nose tackle type, that run stuffing type defensive tackle is more of a big need for this team than it is having the penetrating guy. I'm not saying that if they take Mason Graham, it's a bad selection. I'm just comfortable building it this way. So I went Grant with pick 36. Like you, I went Tate Ratledge at 70. You could sign me up for that trio right now and then draft out of a bag the rest of the time. And I'd be happy because you're going to get a starting guard, starting defensive tackle, and maybe just a superstar playmaker in your first 3 selections. And then with pick 88, I went with Louisville edge rusher Ashton Gillette, who, again, size-wise, kind of fits that in that 250 range, that third guy off the bench, third down pass rush specialist. You don't have to put a ton on his plate early on. Come in here and make an impact for this team. They need somebody to play that role, fulfill that role for them. All right, so Dylan, recap us what you did with the first 3 rounds and rip through the rest of it.
First 3 rounds with Mason Graham, Josh Connerly, the junior, the offensive tackle from Oregon, Jaden Higgins, the receiver from Iowa State, and Elijah Arroyo, the tight end from Miami. In the 4th round from then on was Joshua Farmer, D tackle from Florida State, Kobe Bryant, the DB out of Kansas. Malachi Moore, safety from Alabama at 143. 184 was R.J. Harvey, the running back from UCF.
Yeah, I like that pick.
Yes. 196 was the center from Western Michigan, Jacob Gideon. And at 223 went Maxon Hook, the safety out of Toledo.
You know, at one point I took a running back in this, and then Harvey would have been available with my next selection. I was like, wish I'd waited, right? Like, you never know, right? And that's the thing too. As we look back, and we're so critical of, you could have had so and so. And it is your job to have a sense of that, but you can't know. All it takes is one team, like an R.J. Harvey, a little bit more than you think, and all of a sudden that doesn't become an option. So who'd you wrap up with, Tone?
Yeah, first 3 rounds wound up with Mason Graham, Trey Amos at corner, Tate Ratledge there in the first pick in the 3rd round, and then Josiah Stewart at the edge at the 88th pick. Then in the 4th round at 106, took running back Cam Scatabo out of Arizona State. I was chatting with Dylan a couple days ago about this kind of thing. I saw someone talking about Tet McMillan being a combination of Mike Evans and Randy Moss. And
come on.
Right. Like every time I hear these kinds of comparisons, I'm like, what are we doing?
Combination.
Like what's the point of what you're trying to say? Decide for yourself how reasonable or unreasonable you think this particular comp is. But I heard Daniel Jeremiah during the combine coverage say his player comp for Scatabo is Marion Barber. And it made sense in my head based on what I've seen him do playing.
Yeah.
Right? Like that kind of, I was like, that's a reasonable player comp.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice to hear every now and then when you get those kind of things? Then the second pick in the 4th round went offensive tackle Charles Grant out of William and Mary. Only participated in the bench press at the combine. 3-year starter at left tackle in college. 5th round at 143 went defensive tackle Jordan Phillips. So now I got my nose tackle to add to what I added with Mason Graham there in the 5th round out of Maryland. 6th round at 184, offensive center Jonah Monheim out of USC. 4-year starter at USC, including every game last year at center for the program. Then the second pick there in the 6th round, safety Hunter Wohler out of Wisconsin, box safety type guy. 7th round went tight end Luke Lachey, and as we've said, I think every time we've mentioned him, this is far from the first time in one of these mocks, never hurts to draft an Iowa tight end.
No, it doesn't. I think he's off the board well before that.
Probably.
Right? Like, and granted, we don't know that for sure, and we're going by what they give us there. I could see the Marion Barber comparison for Scatabo, right? I mean, just a physical, just as soon knock you out as go around you kind of guy. Man, I remember watching a game, and this is back when, teams like Minnesota, who he played for in college, I believe, didn't beat the upper crust in the Big Ten, and I believe they might have been playing Michigan. It was I think Lawrence Maroney was with him in that backfield, and they were abusing, I think it was Michigan, all day long. Such a fun game to watch, and he was a good player, Marion Barber was, but never a great player in the NFL. All right, I had gone Travis Hunter, Kenneth Grant, the D tackle, Tate Ratledge, the guard out of Georgia, and Ashton Gillette, the edge rusher from Louisville. I got Elijah Arroyo at 106. Maybe that's not realistic. I see him in the 2nd round of a lot of mocks. So, but I'm not going to sit there and
it's funny.
kill myself on a 4th round pick.
Yeah, like some players, I've gotten to a point where it's like when Zabel is still available at the top of the 2nd round when the Jags are picking, I'm like, I'm not doing it. I don't think he'll be there. Let him mock him to somebody else, and I don't care what anyone else, other teams' mock looks like in this. Like, I'm just trying to figure out what to do with the Jaguars.
I wonder about Zabel because, we were just talking on the break. His wingspan, and again, measurables, right? But he played at a smaller school, so you're making a projection already. Yeah, he had a great Senior Bowl week. But his wingspan apparently measured in the 0 percentile of all tackle prospects at the Combine in this century. So like 25, 26 years of Combine. Since 1999, he has about the shortest wingspan of any tackle that's shown up at the Combine. I don't know if he can play tackle in the National Football League. And if he can't, then I wonder if he wouldn't be available at 36. But regardless, went with Arroyo at 106. Malachi Moore, he's a popular pick for the Jags in the mid-rounds. Safety out of Alabama. Dylan Sampson, who... Again, could I go back and wait and get R.J. Harvey? If I knew that, I probably would have done it. But I took Dylan Sampson, the Tennessee running back, at 143. The one I wanted to check on, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon out of Florida, Dylan Denmark. What do you know about the offensive tackle, Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon?
He was decent. I mean, the offensive line as a whole didn't start good, but he ended the season pretty well.
All right. The note in the scouting report, like, because you love the size. He's over 6'7", like 300, close to 320 pounds. He was penalized, as they wrote it, an eye-popping 26 times in his college career, including 11 times in a single year in 2022. Very mediocre get-off, does not explode out of his stance at all, plays with wide hands, which could be an issue. I'm like, is this guy draftable? Then I look over at PFF, because at this point I want a little offensive line depth, and they had him ranked like 116th overall. So I'm like, all right, somewhere I'm splitting the difference here, and I'm going to take him at 184. I took Aeneas Peebles, the defensive tackle out of Virginia Tech, who is more of a three-technique type. And again, pretty good player at 196. And then the guy I've been taking, the Florida corner, Jason Marshall, as a special teamer, a really good athlete at 223. So hit us up with yours, particularly on the text line at 641-1010 or on Twitter or X at our various handles, and we'll look at a few more of those as we get into hour two. Tony's going to take us around the league with all the latest. Tony Pauline then will be stopping by in less than 30 minutes here as we talk post-combine draft fallout. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL, your home for Gators Hoops is 1010XL.
Top 10 in the nation, top 3 in the SEC. It's a battle of conference powers tonight in Tuscaloosa, Florida, Alabama. Hear it live at 7 on 1010 AM.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise in towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Haymaker Coffee is a local coffee brand to help fuel your daily grind. Why Haymaker? It's fuel for the morning hustle, the late night, and every step of the way. Bold flavors for the bold city. Online at haymakercoffeeco.com.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Awaken 180 weight loss.
Jaguars Today, Wednesday.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, Underwoods has sold fine quality diamonds for a long time. Why is that important?
Frank, if you drew a line with the poorest diamonds with the lowest prices to the left and the highest quality to the right, our diamonds are at the far right end. Now, once we know the weight, the grading factors of cut, color, and clarity have to be considered. And the one that's talked about the least, but it's the most important to us, is the diamond's cut grade, because it has a huge implication on both the price and the beauty, and thus the value. I've bought diamonds for Underwoods for over 30 years, so I know what's out there, and the cut grade's just not important to most diamond sellers. That's really been the Underwood difference, because beautifully cut diamonds result in the most important thing they can do. They bring a joy of owning and wearing a diamond, not just today, but tomorrow and into the future. That's why it's important to us.
And it should be to you too, because nothing brings more joy than a diamond from Underwoods in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra since 1928.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
If someone you love needs a pick-me-up, then it's time to get serious about it and send them a Kuhn floral arrangement. RJ here with 1010XL, and you'll be assured of a quality delivery. That's for sure. Log on and order online at kuhnflowers.com.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer.
Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys Locksmith Service.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror, fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capsule, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Hey folks, Nick here for Zero Res. You're going to want to beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get one room Zero Resified starting at $53. Hey, and take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Don't forget about your air ducts. Your air ducts, sort of like the lungs of your home. If they're dirty, your indoor air quality suffers. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com. Tell them Dan or 1010XL sent you. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res. This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. Brought to you by Riddle Wellness. Another top 10 matchup is set in Tuscaloosa tonight between Alabama and Florida. This is the first meeting between these two teams this season, and each is looking to get a big win before SEC tournament play. Gators head coach Todd Golden gives the keys to success for his number 5 ranked team tonight.
But it's going to be a battle, and obviously against a team like Alabama that's so explosive, you're not going to be able to stop them from doing everything they want to do. I think you have to pick some things that you're able to live with. You know, if they beat you in those ways and you tip your cap, you know, transition defense can be important, limiting threes from their star shooters, trying to keep Sears out of the paint to the best of our ability and keep their big men from getting dunks, you know, off pick and rolls. I think those are the main things that we got to do, or to limit, to give ourselves, you know, a good chance to compete tomorrow night.
Florida and Alabama tonight, tip-off at 7. Catch the game live on 10:10 a.m. It's 72 degrees at 10:58. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
So you got Armand Membo, right, from Missouri. You got Marcus Bow, but it's spelled M-B-O-W. So, like, you know, read that and say Mbo, something like that. So similar guys. Somebody, in terms of name, they both play on the offensive line. Somebody said that they feel that Bow, the Purdue offensive lineman, should be in the same conversation as a riser as Membo. Maybe he will be. I don't know. I don't get the sense that there's that conversation being had around him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's like a second-round pick. I suppose he could slip into the first round. Offensive tackles are always coveted, but I don't get any kind of sense that I don't know if he can do enough at this point. Could he have, like, can a lineman have a big enough pro day to jump themselves up around at this point? And then again, that is presuming that the, quote, consensus is anywhere near accurate, right? All it takes is one team loving that guy. But we've heard other teams say, hey, look, we look at mock drafts. We want to see what people are talking about, where other players are going to go, to get a sense of where we think we can get players based on what other teams are thinking. It's, you know, it's not a perfect science, as we see, because like we say, there are busts every single year. But even just the science of knowing when to take the guy and when to pass him, knowing that you got a great chance he's going to slide to your next pick, is a difficult one.
Yeah, I still have Daniel Jeremiah's second top 50 pulled up here. So I was like, I thought Bo was in the first one, if I remember correctly. So I was like, where was he in the second one? I hadn't looked for him yet. He had dropped out of the 50. He was one of 4 players, I think, that dropped out of Jeremiah's 50. I'm not saying that says he is or isn't going to be a second-round pick wherever he's going to be available, but I don't know even how far he dropped, right? But it's outside of the top 50, at least for Daniel Jeremiah that second time around. And that's around the area that I've heard him talked about at his peak, is somewhere in that 45 to 60 range.
Right.
So is he being talked about the same way that Membo is right now? No. Like, it's just...
Right, but if you like him, like, hey,
if you like him, you like
chance
him.
He's going to be available to the Jags at 36.
Right.
Matt Miller of ESPN did not have him in his top 50 either. Had him as his 4th-ranked guard, although, like, he had, like, Kelvin Banks and Armand Membo listed as tackles.
Yeah.
Right here.
There's
He had
a
Will
lot of that
Campbell
going on, yeah.
Right. Will Campbell, Tyler Booker, Donovan Jackson, the guards ahead of Bo. I will say this.
And he's one of the rare ones that lists Campbell as a guard.
Well, yeah, but Will Campbell, I think now just looking at this week's mocks that are being sent in, has become, I don't know if the consensus Jaguar pick, it's still a lot of Mason Graham, but he is the player that has grown the most on Jaguar fans as a consideration at 5 over the last couple of weeks with the combine. His quote about, hey, I'll play right guard if you need me to play right guard, and I'll give you everything. You know, he just seems like he's got those intangibles that the Jags are coveting and talking a lot about. All right, why don't we take a look around the rest of the National Football League?
Now, gems around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
The Los Angeles Rams are trading offensive lineman Jonah Jackson to the Chicago Bears for a 6th-round pick, the pick that the Bears got from Pittsburgh when they traded quarterback Justin Fields last year. The deal can't be made official till the start of the new league year next week. Also, the Bears staying busy. They are acquiring guard Joe Thuney from the Kansas City Chiefs for a 4th-round pick, so adding a couple interior offensive linemen here today, or at least next week when it becomes official. The trade's there for the Bears. The Philadelphia Eagles and running back Saquon Barkley have agreed to a 2-year contract extension with $41.2 million in new money, including $36 million guaranteed, with another $15 million available in incentives. Green Bay and kicker Brandon McManus have agreed to a 3-year, $15.3 million deal. Dallas and defensive end Osa Odigizua Odigizua agreed to a 4-year, $80 million contract with $58 million in guaranteed money before the Tuesday deadline for teams to use their 2025 tags. Dallas is also bringing back cornerback C.J. Goodwin on a 1-year deal. Only 2 tags were used this year. Cincinnati with the franchise tag on wide receiver T. Higgins for a 2nd straight year, and Kansas City on guard Trey Smith. The New York Jets have released wide receiver Devontae Adams. The New Orleans Saints have released running back Jamal Williams. And Seattle cut 4 players on Tuesday, including 2 former Jaguars, safety Rayshawn Jenkins and defensive tackle Roy Robertson-Harris.
How many years does Thuney have left on his deal?
I do not know.
I'm interested because, that's a guy, he signed a 5-year deal. When did he sign that deal? Let's see if this has got it at Spot Track. Because 4th-round pick, he is 32 years old, but he's a pretty good player still, I think, particularly if you play him at guard. He went out. He played
1 year left on it.
Yeah, 4th-round pick for a guy with 1 year left. I don't know if that's a great investment. I mean, it's a stopgap, right? And do I think he'd be better than Ezra Cleveland? Sure. Do I think you could make that your combination of guards? Absolutely. But then what? Are you going to be paying a 33-year-old Thuney a big money deal to extend him here? Or do you just flush a 4th-round pick for 1 year of service?
$15.5 million for the final year there. The cap number is 26.9. It's basically 27.
So they're taking on 26.9?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything about the money, and that may be part of what I don't know what the details on it are besides the pick.
My guess would be they're taking on the base salary as the hit. Usually the team that's trading away a player gets the bonus, acceleration, all that other stuff. The Jonah Jackson deal, I saw Bears fans go, oh my gosh, we got him for a 6th-rounder. You're paying him $17 million for a 6th-rounder. And is he only on the last year of his deal too, if I'm not mistaken? I think that might be the case. But it seemed like at first you're like, 6th-round pick for a guy who's shown some good stuff at times in the past, but that's a lot of money for a guy who
he's got through 26, so he's got 2 years
he's got
left.
2 years, but he's making and I don't think that I think they're taking on the full contract as well on that deal. So
his cap numbers this year and next year are $11.8 million.
I don't know how that can. I thought his cap number is 11.8.
Yeah. His base is 9 each of the next 2 years.
Is it? Okay. Well, maybe then that's the 17 or whatever was a rough estimation of what he's got left on the deal. So that's not that bad of a deal for a 6th-round pick. Different ways to go about it. I mean, it seems like the Jags are wanting to build through the draft and get young guys that they could build that are going to have a chance to grow together. But I don't have an issue with you have to stopgap a few spots on your roster. You can't just have this team that is all young at the same time. Look, Trevor Lawrence, going into the big money deal now, right? Trevor's not a young pup anymore. He's young-ish, but this is going to be his 5th year in the National Football League. The time to win is now, the next year, the year after. It's not, hey, let's wait and make sure all these guys mature at the same time, because your chances are, I don't care how good James Gladstone and the new Brain Trust is, they're going to have their share of misses as well. We can focus on the hits. Hopefully they have some, like the Rams did last year. But, having a mix of the veteran and the young guys is probably desirable.
And given the conversation around the centers, right, in this particular draft, you got a bunch of guys that are talking about, well, if you need him to go slide in there, he can, but not a lot of guys that they're talking about at that position. I do wonder how high on the free agent list of guys they're interested in Dahlman's going to be, right? We can bring in a young guy that may be the center legit for us for the next 4 or 5 years, and we don't have to think about it.
He's 26.
Right.
That's a different story. Like, I'm on board with Dalton because it's not a great center draft.
Yeah.
And people say, well, just draft this guy. Well, okay, there's only 1 or 2 of those guys.
Yeah, and I think you have to be, I don't know what the money's going to wind up being for Dahlman, but given the class of centers in this year's draft class, again, like we've talked about with these kinds of players so often, Jacksonville will be far from alone in the chase of Drew Dahlman in this year's free agency class, right? So I don't know where that's going to wind up as far as compared to other centers in the league, but I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up being paid at or above wherever the top center in the league right now.
No, me either.
Right.
And I wouldn't have an issue if that's the way they choose to spend their money.
Sure.
Invest in the offensive line. I still think you could probably find a veteran corner that could come in and help you, but maybe not an absolute locked-in multi-year starter. Again, looking at the resources you're going to have available, if you spend a big chunk on an offensive lineman in free agency, what are you going to have left over?
Center is interesting. I was just looking at it because I figure Creed Humphrey's probably the highest paid, but I didn't know what the number was, right? Creed Humphrey's getting $18 million a year right now, right? The second highest paid in the league is Ragnow with the Lions. It's a $4.5 million gap. It's down to 13.5, right? So I think likely Dahlman's going to wind up somewhere above that 13.5 number, somewhere below the Humphrey number.
I'd take him for $15 million a year right now. I don't know if you'd get him for that, though, right? If there's
it may be pushing north of that.
Right, because that's the nature of free agency. Not many great players make it there. Not even saying he's great, but he's a pretty good one. And because there are just a scarce few, they get bid up, and that's just the way. I mean, again, Ozo Odigizua, to me, is not a $20 million a year player, but that's what it took.
It's happening at the right
time.
time.
Keep him away from free agency, and good for him. All right, we'll come back. Tony Pauline going to join us from Sports Key to some combine fallout in Tony's eyes, and some of these prospects maybe solidifying themselves as high first-round picks. Who should be on the Jags' radar? We'll discuss that and more coming up next on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
Bring it in. 2, 4, 6, 8. Duval.
1010XL. Duval Sports Radio.
Nice job.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scotty Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Enhance your home with Renewal by Anderson's exclusive 31-day spring event. Experience superior craftsmanship and timeless design with buy one, get one 40% off custom replacement windows and patio doors. Enjoy the ease of zero down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. This offer expires March 31st. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Florida Gators. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613. Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care.
The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday on Jaguars Today. Awaken 180 Weight Loss, your long-term solution for weight loss.
Did you know your pup could take 30,000 to 60,000 steps a day at Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard? That's a whole lot of tail wagging fun with their best furry friends. At Dogtopia, they turn playtime into exercise, learning, and socialization in their off-leash, open play environment. Dogs build confidence, reduce anxiety, and stay happy and healthy, all while having the time of their lives. Visit Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard today.
Greenlaw Group is for the insured. If you think you have roof damage, call 904-302-7055 today, and they will schedule you a free roof inspection. Trust their law firm to help you fight your insurance when you need it. These storms can cause damage you may not even see yet. Call Greenlaw Group 302-7055. There's no cost to retain their law firm and no cost to have your roof inspected. They only get paid if you win. Greenlaw Group, for the insured.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoor Show.
With tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
For the greenest, luscious lawn on the block, choose the local legends, Roundtree Sod. Don't just settle for ordinary. Let Roundtree Sod deliver you a picture-perfect lawn. To get a free estimate, call 7414-SOD. 7414-SOD.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic.
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow. I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but...
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses.
Whoa.
Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Your yard's starting to look a little like a jungle? Well, it might be time for a little TLC. Or how about RTC, Russell Tree Care? At Russell Tree Care, they give your trees the perfect haircut. Whether it's trimming or removing, they'll make sure your yard looks its best, all while keeping safety as a top priority. Call Russell Tree Care today and let them take care of your trees. Russell Tree Care, 844-4Mr. Wood. That's 844-467-9663. Or visit RussellTreeCareLLC.com today. Your trees will thank you.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution. For a limited time, take advantage of our spring special and enjoy exclusive savings on closets, garages, home offices, and more. That's 40% off with an additional 50% off with 12-month special financing through April. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation with Closets by Design.
At Hurricane Grill and Wings, the wings are fresh, the drinks are cold, and the game is always on. With 30 bold flavors, ice-cold beer, and handcrafted cocktails, there's no better place to kick back and catch every play. Escape the ordinary. Your home for sports is Hurricane Grill and Wings.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, talking draft with you every Wednesday, often more days than that, obviously, leading up to the NFL draft. But every Wednesday, we like to bring one of our favorite draft analysts today. The great one, Tony Pauline from Sportskeeda.com, joins us here on Jaguars Today on 1010XL. Tony, good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. Thanks for having me back again.
Yes, sir. Glad you're back with us. We've been talking a lot about offensive linemen here around these parts with the new regime here in Jacksonville. That's something they've emphasized they really want to build on both lines of scrimmage, which a lot of teams should be looking at that. Tony, Will Campbell, did he solidify himself as a value or a guy you would consider for the Jaguars at number 5, or is that too rich for your blood? Just how good was the week for him in Indianapolis?
Well, it was good except for the arm. The arm length was 32 5/8. And if you want to tackle in the league, you usually want his arms to be at least 33 inches. So it's a question of, are they able to get over the fact that his arms were 3/8 inch less than what people thought? Now, his workout was terrific. He was very athletic. He put up some good marks. He was good during position drills. First position drill, he slipped on that turf at Lucas Oil Stadium, which was a disaster. It looked like it was an injury. He got back up, and he finished the drills. He did a really good job. I mean, Will Campbell is an incredibly athletic, good-looking left tackle who, when he's on his game, can block in motion on the second level. He's great in pass protection. You got the short arms, and you got some film, which at times he looks a little bit soft. So they're going to have to make the decision. I would probably look at maybe Mason Graham if he's there, maybe Will Johnson. I would not be upset if it was Will Campbell.
If it is Will Campbell did have a comment about, hey, look, man, I can play tackle, but if you want me to play right guard, he specifically said that. And he had met with the Jags, and the Jags have a gaping hole at right guard. Is there enough value in taking, whether it's Campbell or Kelvin Banks or Armand Membo or any of these guys, with the idea I'm going to play him at guard maybe for a couple of years, and as we move on, maybe they transition to tackle in the National Football League?
Well, that's how the great Jonathan Ogden started. I mean, he was an early pick. His first year with the Baltimore Ravens, he played guard. They kicked him out to tackle. He was a Hall of Fame left tackle. So I think that is also a very sound strategy.
What is the reaction that you have heard about Mason Graham weighing in up there at 296?
Well, I mean, he was only expected to be a guy that was barely over 300 pounds. So, I mean, I thought maybe 303, 296. I mean, he's not a big frame guy. And that was not, it wasn't, no one expected him to come in at 310, 315. And then he was 296, and everybody said, whoa, that's what he is. I mean, he's a guy who, when he works out at his best is slightly over 300 pounds, but you're not drafting him because he's a big, bulky guy.
Well, Tone, how much in general, I did hear that maybe he dropped a few extra pounds because he was planning on doing some positional workouts and then tweaked something and decided not to wait for his pro day. But a lot of these guys do that, right? They drop 10 pounds, so their 40 time is a tenth faster, whatever the case. How much should we factor that in, or how much do NFL decision makers factor that in and say, okay, I think this guy's going to play at 315 or 310. He worked out at this, so we've got to kind of grade him on a scale.
They will find out from the coaches at Michigan or whatever school what the guy's playing weight is. So they're not really going to fool anybody. Now, what used to happen in the old days was weigh-ins would happen 3 or 4 days before the workout, and these guys would all bulk up on water weight, and they would be 4 or 5 pounds heavier. Now, I don't know how you put 4 or 5 pounds on water weight. I still can't figure that out, but that's what they used to do. And then it would be lighter when it came time to workout. What they do now is they weigh these guys just a few hours before they actually work out to get a truer estimate of what their weight is when they are on the field doing position drills, doing testing if they're doing testing. As far as, what they think, it's not what they think his playing weight will be last year. They'll find that out from Michigan. They'll look at his frame and they'll say, can we put 10 pounds on this guy's frame? Can he add 15 pounds? Keep that same quickness, keep that same agility in the case of Mason Graham, keep that same explosive first step off the snap.
Have you heard anything about why Tech McMillan is choosing not to run the 40 at the Combine or at his pro day, and is that having any effect on what his draft stock is supposed to be?
And it's probably because he's slow. He's not going to run a good 40 time. I mean, he's not we've seen receivers in the past, who have not run 40s. We've seen other players who have not run 40s. And the fact is, he probably doesn't want to go out there and clock a 4.55 or a 4.56. But that's not the type of receiver he is. He is a big, tall, game-controlling wideout. I've always said he's Calvin Johnson without the 4.37 speed. That's what he is. He's smart. He tested off the charts psychologically. He's a one-man show. He's the guy that opposing coverages focus on when he is on the field, yet they can't stop him. He's not a vertical receiver. You're not drafting him to be a vertical receiver.
So, Tony, because of positional scarcity, it's supposed to be a great wide receiver draft, and it is deep at defensive tackle. It seems like interior offensive line. If the Jags were to pick at 5 or maybe even trade back a couple of spots, is McMillan still worthy of a top 10 selection in your opinion?
Yeah, McMillan, absolutely.
Yes.
He absolutely is. I think he is. In fact, he is one of the top-rated players on my board overall because he is a receiver that continually gets better. Yet he was the focal point of that Arizona offense that teams could not stop. I would absolutely have no problem selecting him in the top 10.
Okay.
Matthew Golden, one of the other receivers in this draft class, ran the blazing 40 there up at the combine, so that's certainly not going to hurt him. And he's been a player that feels like he's been rising in the conversations around wide receivers in this draft for the last several weeks. What wide receiver ultimately do you think is most likely to be drafted first this year, and how many do you expect to be taken in the first round?
Well, I mean, is a team going to draft Travis Hunt? I know he was listed as a cornerback or a defensive back. What is the team drafting Travis Hunter as? If the team drafts Travis Hunter as a running back, he will be the first one. Then I believe it'll be Tet McMillan. And then after that, it'll be Emeka Egbuka of Ohio State. Those guys are all first-round picks. I would also throw Luther Burden of Missouri in that conversation. Matthew Golden is the guy who showed a lot of promise, a lot of development last year at Texas. He's more of a one-year type of player, had that great 40 time, walked off the field after that. I was told because he hurt his ankle, and I was with people at the workout who saw he looked a little bit gimpy. I believe it was on his right ankle. So we'll see if Golden is the fifth receiver to end up in round 1.
Tony, Tyler Booker, the offensive lineman out of Alabama, right? Many grade him as kind of a mid-first-round guy, maybe a little bit higher than that for some. No explosiveness, in his athletic workouts. But as you noted, look good in drills. Does it matter for a guard? How much does it matter for a guard to have a 40 time, have some of the jumps kind of jump off the page at you?
Well, it depends on what type of system you want. Now, with offensive linemen, even with defensive linemen, people like to talk about the 40, but you really want to look at the 10 split. The 10 split is very important. If you're running a zone blocking system, you may shy away from Tyler Booker because he's really good in a small area. He's a dominant run blocker. He looks like a man amongst boys, and he showed decent agility, but I don't know that it's enough agility that if you want to use your offensive lineman where you're pulling them across the line of scrimmage, quickly getting out to that second or third level. So does it matter? If you run a power gap scheme, if you run a system, say, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's really not going to matter that much. You would rather have the bigger kind of punch-in-the-face type of guy, and you don't need that superior athlete.
We know there's a bunch of offensive linemen that have positional flexibility, right? They'll be listed at tackles, played as guards, maybe earlier in their career, moved around. But with all that being part of the equation here, what guards do you think will be drafted in the first 2 rounds of this draft?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Booker, as you mentioned, I still have Josh Connerly on my guard board. I think he's going to be he'll be late first round. Excuse me, Stevanea of Arizona. Is he a tackle? Is he a guard? Probably both. Late first, more like early second round. Marcus Embo of Purdue is probably going to move inside the guard second round. The guy to keep an eye on is Gray Zabel of North Dakota State. Could end up in the late part of round 1. He's going to go first 2 rounds. And the last guy I'd say is, Donovan Jackson of Ohio State is going to go in the first 2 rounds. Wyatt Millam, the left tackle from West Virginia, who projects to guard right now. He's also going to go somewhere, probably in the mid to late part of round 2.
Gray Zabel had been maybe one of the hottest, we'll call them risers. We understand a lot of times it's people catching up with what the NFL thinks, but I think it's fair to call him a riser because he played at a smaller school, caught a lot of people's attention at the Senior Bowl, Tone. But then at the Combine, I just read earlier today that his wingspan is in like the 0 percentile of all tackles who have been measured at the Combine in this century. So does he have to play inside at the next level? And if that's the case, if he doesn't have as much flexibility, does that knock him back into the second round?
Well, no, he doesn't have to play inside. I mean, you mentioned how he started to build momentum during the Senior Bowl. Go back and watch the first game that North Dakota State played this year against Colorado, where he was fantastic. I mean, he was terrific. Again, the arm length is important. I'm pulling it up as we talk here. The arm length, the wingspan, to me it's not overly important. 32-inch arms is definitely going to push him inside the guard or even center. A lot of people think he could play center.
Right.
Knowing the Jaguars would be looking for a kind of third edge if they go that direction in this year's draft, someone to play behind Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. What guys on day 3 would you expect to be available that would best fit that kind of profile for him?
Let me just pull up my list here. I'm sorry. Day 3 guys at that sort of position, you're looking at John Joyner of Minnesota. I think a lot more was expected from him. Had his flashes, had a decent combine workout, did not have a good senior season, but he's a bigger guy who can also put his hand in the ground. Josiah Stewart of Michigan, shorter guy, 6 foot, 1/2 inch, 248 pounds, can come out of a three-point stance, or you can use him standing up. David Walker of Central Arkansas, who had a good combine, had a great Senior Bowl, Division II player who really could not be stopped. Every time he went for a repetition at the Senior Bowl, really helped himself. You're looking at 5th round area with David Walker. One of my favorite guys, Fadil Diggs of Syracuse, had a terrific combine workout. You'll watch the film. They can't stop him. He's not only a terrific edge rusher, but you can use him backed off the line in space. If you're going to run a zone-type blitz, he can get out and make plays in pursuit. So there will be guys there, available to him. I think one of the more interesting stories, a little kind of where you guys are, would be Tyler Barron of Miami of Florida. Had a phenomenal combine workout. He's a guy who just shows incredible flashes, but there's not a lot of consistency there. And I think what Tyler Barron is, at times he shows a day 2 game film. He's got a day 2 type of athleticism, but the consistency isn't there. So if he slides into the 4th round, somewhere in day 3, the risk is going to outweigh the reward. And if you hit on a guy like Tyler Barron, you could hit a big home run with him.
I'm going to put him in my next 7-round mock. I'm going to make room for him in my next 7-round mock. We do one every week now, Tone. We're trying to catch you in our prowess on the NFL draft. Tony Pauline, just for a couple more moments here from sportskita.com. It is a deep class of running backs. So when it comes to an Ashton Jeanty or Omarion Hampton, how wise is it? Particularly where Jeanty is expected to come off first half of round 1, you're not the better teams in the league. It feels like running back should be the finishing piece to your team, Tony, oftentimes. But is there enough separation with the elite talents there that it is going to be worthwhile to select like a Jeanty in the top 12 picks?
In my opinion, yes, because Jeanty can do everything. When you get down to, say, like the Quinshawn Junkins of Ohio State, who's going to be a day 2 pick, Jeanty is as good as an interior ball carrier as Junkins is, but he can also turn the perimeter, which Junkins cannot. And he's also a terrific pass catcher. You take a guy like Dylan Sampson, who's going to be a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick from Tennessee. Good straight line guy, but again, not a good perimeter runner. Travion Henderson, terrific running back out of Ohio State, probably a 3rd round pick. He's an outstanding perimeter ball carrier, and he catches the ball well, but compared to Ashton Jeanty, he's not as good running on the inside. So Ashton Jeanty is your 3-down running back that can take it on the inside. He can turn the corner, turn the perimeter. He's an outstanding pass catcher out of the backfield. If you want that type of player, a guy that can be on the field, a running back that can be on the field, and in any situation, Jeanty's your guy.
What, if any, buzz did you hear around the Jaguars during your time there at the Combine?
Very little. I mean, there was not a whole lot. The Combine it's becoming more, unfortunately, more of a media event. With the NFL taking over, so fewer and fewer teams or the teams are sending fewer players there. Really did not hear that much with the Jaguars. I'm sure as we get closer to the draft, I'm going to hear all kinds of things about it.
Well, that's why we'll look forward to having you back on several times between now and late April. Tony Pauline, sportskita.com, and on the X platform at Tony Pauline. Tony, all the best. Appreciate your time this morning.
I appreciate being back with you guys. Thank you.
All right, buddy. We'll do it again soon. Tony Pauline from sportskita.com. We'll come back with some thoughts on that, Tone. And also, let's look at the possibility of another guy who just got added to the free agent pool, maybe ending up here in the city of Jacksonville, FLA. That's next on Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss, steaming into their 11th year, over 10 years of success with a long-term solution for weight loss that can work for anybody. Cutting through the misconceptions of lose weight, quick gadgets, fad diets, medications, and in the process, they've revolutionized the weight loss industry with real and, most importantly, lasting results. Free support for life was and still is the backbone of the Awaken 180 program. In other words, set a goal for yourself. Awaken 180 will help you achieve that goal weight, and once you do, stick with the program, and all the coaching and support you need is free for life. That's right, absolutely free. Over 23,000 clients of Awaken 180 have lost a combined 750,000 pounds, and along the way, felt a lot better, looked a lot better, gotten a lot healthier, eliminating the need for all kinds of medications in the process. Could you be next? Absolutely. All you have to do is go online to awaken180weightloss.com and schedule your free consultation. That's Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. From Pit Road to Victory Lane.
Checkered flag is in the air.
This Sunday at Phoenix, NASCAR is revved up by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234. From Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
If you suffer from constant burning, tingling, or numbness in your hands or feet, it could be a serious condition called neuropathy. I'm Dr. Nathan Riddle, DC with Riddle Wellness in Ponte Vedra. Neuropathy is treatable, and we have seen great results by using state-of-the-art, non-invasive therapies to target damaged nerves, reduce symptoms, and improve nerve function. Call 904-395-5598 to schedule your free consultation today and learn how you can live pain-free. Call 904-395-5598.
Jacksonville runs on dreams, and Haymaker Coffee is a local brand fueling the next generation. Keep each day strong with a Haymaker. Fuel for the morning hustle, the late night, and every step of the way. Bold flavors for the bold city. Online at haymakercoffeeco.com.
Looking for a great place to enjoy some craft creations and soak up some scenery? Fernandina's Mocama Beer Company is a must-see and must-try. Nassau County knows it. Visitors need to find out about it. Mocama means near the big water where the sun is born. And if you visit their tap room in Fernandina Beach, you'll see how they've mastered equal parts precision and art in creating great flavors from IPAs to Pilsners, lagers, and sours, plus plenty more. Mocama.com, Mocama Beer Company. Start an adventure and find them in Fernandina.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday
On Jaguars Today.
Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
The best golfing weather is upon us, and Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to enjoy your next round of golf with us. Our welcoming atmosphere and love for golf keep our friends coming back. Check us out at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
1010XL's running game takes a giant step forward.
Well, Fred Taylor is the whole package.
Fred Taylor joins Dan and Jeff on the drill. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and Monahan Jewelers.
Hey, this is David with Royal Pest Services. The fact that we've been bundled up the past month gave us an idea. Let's bundle up also with our Centricon and Pest Control Bundle, starting at $349. Visit RoyalPestServices.com for your free inspection.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
Lots of jewelry stores in the town center, but only one is locally owned, Beard's Diamonds.
We're the only local jewelry store at the town center.
That's Jacksonville's John Lupo, owner of Beard's for over 4 decades.
We're entrenched in Jacksonville, Florida.
In a sea of mega chain jewelers, John says it's easy to stand out because he's not handcuffed by a corporate handbook.
I am not beholden to a corporate structure, so we've got flexibility to do whatever we can and want, and we do.
And that includes lowering prices to undercut them every day.
Quality for quality, color for color, everything the same. We should be able to beat them hands down by minimum 20%. We go overseas ourselves. We know exactly what we're buying. This isn't getting marked up in a corporate structure. We will beat anybody's price anywhere.
So before you buy anything at one of those chains, get a second opinion at locally owned Beard's Diamonds. No corporate atmosphere, no corporate rules, no corporate high markups.
We want you to come shop us and you'll see a lot better price here.
Beard's Diamonds.
Everybody gets a good deal at Beard's.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
All right, Tone, how do you vote in today's poll? The question, which of these options is your preferred trade back candidate for the Jags? And if you didn't like one of these guys, who is the guy that you'd like to see them target in a trade back? Nick Emenwari, the safety out of South Carolina, Ashton Genty, the Boise State running back, Armand Membo, the Missouri offensive lineman, or Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end?
Of those options, certainly Membo would be the top of the list for me. Like we talked about early on in the show, I'm not completely sold on Membo, but of those options especially, he would be the guy.
Yeah, me too. And again, like I said, kind of an avatar for offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Kevin Banks, Tyler Booker, whomever that is. I think if you're going to especially draft one who's going to play guard, although it's nice to hear Tony Pauline feel that, Will Campbell's worthy of the 5th pick, if that's the direction that they decide to go. Membo easily winning this poll, nearly 60% of the vote. Tyler Warren second at 14, and a tie between Emenwari and Ashton Genty in third place, a little over 13%, nearly 400 votes on that. Somebody asked this question, which said, Membo's going to play guard? They asked incredulously. He better be good at playing against nose tackles in the AFC South. A 340-pound nose tackle is way different than a 280-pound defensive end. Walker Little found out the hard way. Well, that's true. So I looked up, what is the average size of a guard in the National Football League? Okay, and according to Google, now don't take this as absolute gospel, but this is what the first result that came up. 6'4", 315 pounds is the average guard in the NFL. Membo is 6'4" and a quarter, 332.
He's huge.
He is huge.
Yeah, I was looking at the All-Pros last year, and I think between all of, I think it was 6'4", or it was 304, 307, 320, 324. I think it's what all four were listed at.
Yeah, so in the 320s, basically. And he fits that profile, I'm
just looking up Nelson. Quentin Nelson's 330, at least on that. And I think there is some of this is deceiving because these are all players that those measurement numbers that we get never change.
True.
Right? Like they never get updated. So that's what Quentin Nelson was when he came into the league. I don't know what he is now.
Right.
I don't know what he plays at for any of these guys. But if you're getting weighed at the combine at 334, there is no world where that is small in the National Football League at guard. That's just not true.
At 6'4", right?
Yeah.
And like Walker Little's 325, but he's 6'7". Okay, at least that's what he's listed at, 6'7", 325. Those 3 inches make a big difference when you're talking about distributing that same amount of weight. So Membo's actually stouter in pure weight, and certainly stouter when you combine the height along with
He's Quentin Nelson's size.
Right. I'm not I don't know if he'd be a great guard or not.
No.
I'm just saying if you're concerned because Walker Little didn't handle it as well, they're different body types to me. I mean, they're both big, massive guys, but Walker Little clearly looks like a tackle, at 6.
Always has.
With the height there. Anyway, that's me. And look, it's all good, and you don't have to like Membo, and I'm not saying that this person doesn't necessarily, and I get it. It's always going to be a bit of a projection. You got to project, can Will Campbell play guard? He's a tackle.
Yeah. Well, and when that text came in, I was like, I wonder what they are. Right? It's the reason to look it up the way you did, and it's the reason I looked it up the way I did. It's like, what were the all-pro guards?
Yeah.
What was their size last year? It's like, I don't know. I don't know if 330 is big or small for a guard. I do not know. So then I look it up, and I'm like, no, 330 is fine. Right? If that's what he actually is, 334 is well above what you would need, it would appear.
There are hardly any other offensive linemen that measured at the combine who are bigger. In terms of stoutness, you know what I mean? There are taller ones, certainly. There are a few who weigh a bit more.
The point about he needs to be ready to deal with nose tackles, yes.
So does every other guy coming into the National
That is
Football
obviously the requirement.
And I get it if you haven't done that. But most of these guys that were, or put it this way, several of the premium guys that are being talked about at the top, there are questions with whether it's arm length or some other thing as to how well they'll adapt to playing tackle in the National Football League. So can you slide him inside early, play him there, and maybe over time you're repping him in practice and in the offseason and find out, or maybe due to an injury, okay, go in there and play left tackle. Maybe the guy can handle it. I would be more looking at it, again, you can't get too caught up in the measurables, right? But they do matter to some degree. There's a reason this all started back in the 1960s with Gil Brandt basically running the Dallas Cowboys front office and scouting department in terms of, well, let's see, who are the effective guys and what ranges do they fall in? And he started to try to make it a more scientific process.
Looking at it that systematically was a big advantage for the Cowboys early on. And then everyone else caught on. It's like, well, that's working.
That makes sense, right?
But we all have to do this now.
It can't be gospel. You can't just say, this guy, like Aaron Donald didn't fit all the boxes, right? You got to be willing to let your eyes and the results on the field tell you that, you know what, some cases, measurables, we need to kind of turn a blind eye to some degree. They still have to have certain baselines that you can't play defensive tackle in the National Football League at 250 pounds.
Right.
You've got to be a certain size, but, do you have to be 320? No. We've seen it, right? There are different ways to get around it. So, one guy that became a free agent yesterday, Devontae Adams. I think it'd be a fantastic, just from a play style and how he would fit in on this roster, I think it'd be phenomenal to be on the Jags. I think for a lot of reasons, there is little to zero chance of that actually happening. For one thing, Devontae Adams is scheduled to make like $70 million over the next couple of years combined with the Jets before they released him. I don't know if Devontae Adams is taking any kind of discount to come to Jacksonville. I would think Devontae Adams is looking at himself as at least in the high 20s in terms of millions of dollars spent. He's 32 years old. He has an affinity for the West Coast. The Packers are the betting favorite for him to go back, maybe realizing that he never should have left. And he obviously, played there and thrived there for a long time. Still a very productive player, even with the issues that they had with him being traded midseason. He was a 1,000-yard receiver again.
I would love for Brian Thomas Jr. to have a down year a decade into his career where he only had 1,000 yards and 8
touchdowns. Right.
Like Devontae, it's not quite what he was 3-4 years ago when he was back-to-back-to-back first-team All-Pro, at the position, but he's still a premium player at the position in the National Football League. Yeah, I'm with you. I would love for the Jaguars to be able to kick the tires on that kind of guy to play opposite Brian Thomas Jr. It was no waves with him and Garrett Wilson, right? Like, that was never an issue for Garrett Wilson to be playing with Devontae on the other side of him. It never seemed to bug him to have that guy there. And I think that kind of thing is important for a young player in Brian Thomas Jr. I think there's only positives with it, but I agree with you. I think the price tag's going to get him out of the Jaguars' range.
I think he's still such a great route runner. He can still get deep, but he's can be a tough possession receiver, and he finds ways to get open. And Brian Thomas, I think at this stage, is a better field stretcher than Devontae Adams, just in terms of like the pure speed and stuff.
I would love to see what it would look like with both them on the field.
I mean, it would be phenomenal. Yeah. I just don't think it's a realistic landing spot here for a variety of reasons. He's going to want to go to a contender, I would think. And the Jags may be seen as that to some, but if he's got a choice to go to Green Bay and play with Jordan Love in a city where he's thrived and they still love him and would welcome him as the returning hero, I would think he would take that option. And Green Bay has talked about, trying to find a true top of the depth chart number one. That's the one thing we do have is a top of the depth chart number one wide receiver. I'm not opposed to having another one. But, again, you've got ultimately finite resources. And people say, the salary cap always goes up. It does. But you still have X amount of space, and you can only restructure so many contracts for so long before that bill ends up coming due. But I
think, we talked about it earlier in the show. Do I think it's more likely that the Jags go heavy after Devontae Adams or Dahlman at center? I think it's Dahlman at center.
I would agree. And I think that's the better approach.
I do too.
You can still go out and add to the wide receiver room. Not saying don't do that. By the way, Gardner Minshew released by the Raiders. Look, I think he's the ideal backup quarterback. I think he really is. A little tiny percentage of me has some trepidation if he were to come to Jacksonville in that capacity, because me personally, I just don't want to deal after Trevor throws his first interception of the season. Minshew ought to be the starter, man. I know he got cut by the quarterback deficient Raiders, but he's better than Trevor Lawrence. And I'm sure some of that sentiment still exists out there. So good luck to you, Gardner Minshew, wherever your next landing spot happens to be. Let's say hello to Helmets and Heels.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
All right, Mia O'Brien, hello.
Hello.
What's up with you?
Just hoping that this rain clears out the pollen, and that, I don't sound too. That's all good. It's all good.
You sound fine. You sound fine.
Good. I'm glad because I know it's allergies, and I've of course convinced myself of such. But at the same time, I appreciate it. Energy levels are high, and we have a loaded show on deck.
Devontae Adams is quickly thought. I couldn't think of a much better fit opposite Brian Thomas Jr., but for a variety of reasons. I just think it's a non-starter here.
It's a non-starter because he's going to follow Ron, right?
I don't know about that.
Really?
I think it's
most reports are saying that
the betting markets are saying Green Bay is the ridiculously heavy favorite for him to go sign with. Yes, the betting markets have it at like minus 600 or something.
Wow.
To go back to Green Bay.
Well, hopefully that makes Josh Jacobs happy.
I mean, where is Aaron Rodgers going to go? By the way,
the Giants.
Is he?
The Titans. Where's Sam Darnold going to go? I think that's the other, that's the next domino. I think Sam Darnold has to find his next landing spot or stay with the Vikings, and then we'll have an idea where Aaron Rodgers ends up.
Isn't that funny?
Sam Darnold before Aaron Rodgers.
Sam Darnold before Aaron, which I understand.
The race for the Jets QBs, the whole league.
What are you tying yourself to? What are you tying yourself to if you go follow Aaron Rodgers? One more year of what? And
being his roommate, I don't know.
And if he goes to the Giants, I mean, are they not still going to draft a quarterback? You know what I mean?
No, they still will. I mean, that's
right.
The report out there is that they were going to trade for Matt Stafford and still trade up for a quarterback.
Right. So let's say he signs with the Giants, and they're 3-6, and they drafted Shedeur Sanders. How long they waiting to play Shedeur Sanders? You know what I mean? I think the days of Devontae following Aaron just to do that are probably. I'm not saying it's impossible that it ends up the same way. I just don't think it's the most likely. All right, so what's coming up today?
Loaded show. We're going to keep our series going. Yesterday, you guys really enjoyed. We did our top 3 matches along the offensive line in this year's NFL draft for the Jaguars. This is not to say this is our top 3, Taylor and my top 3 players along the offensive line in this year's crop. This is the 3 players who match what the Jaguars need. So we will do defensive tackle coming up at 12 o'clock. We have Neil Blackman from Saturday Down South to talk Gator basketball at 12:30. 1 o'clock, our friend Gus Logue will be in studio talking about the 1010XL NFL Draft Guide. And then finally at 1:15, Charles Davis of the NFL Network.
All right. We'll be listening. Have a good show.
Thanks,
there you go. Tomorrow, more of the same. More Jaguar talk marching towards free agency. So we'll get out of your way today. Thanks to Tony Pauline from Sports Kita for stopping by. For Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark, I'm Mike Dempsey. We'll be back with more Jaguars Today tomorrow from 10 to noon on 1010XL 92.5 FM.